Ladies and gentlemen, one of the revelations in the January Congressional Committee report is that there were a number of people that wanted to turn on Trump, or who turned on Trump. And I'll read you a Bloomberg article. Mnuchin briefly discussed 25th Amendment to remove Trump. Transcripts show Trump's secretaries of state, Treasury decided not to pursue. Pence would have had to invoke amendment to remove president. And he spoke to Pompeo, outgoing Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, and Secretary of State Michael Pompeo briefly discussed removing President Donald Trump through the 25th Amendment. Okay, here's the revelation here, or the importance to Trump in 2024. Pompeo owes his political career, his recent political career, to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, well, he was head of Central Intelligence under Trump, if I remember correctly. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And then he was Secretary of State. Pretty big and important move up. To thank Trump, he then has a conversation with Steve Mnuchin about removing the president, utilizing the 25th Amendment. Now, the 25th Amendment, actually, you can look, and it's actually for a leader or president that cannot function. So you look at the current leadership we have, and that amendment applies more to the current leadership than it ever did with Trump. January was a terrible day 2 years ago. Should never have happened. Huge mistake on Trump's part, but he didn't commit a crime. You might say, well, he had a right to demonstrate. You had a whole summer of $1 to $2 billion in property damage, according to Wikipedia, 19 lives lost, 14,000 arrests. But the entire American political establishment, and I agree with why people peacefully demonstrated. I do. But you're not going to get the same coverage. You're not going to get the same fiery but mostly peaceful CNN journalist in front of a building set ablaze. A CNN journalist in front of a building disintegrating behind him is saying, well, it's mostly peaceful. You're not going to ever get that coverage. Again, I support why people demonstrated throughout that summer. I support the cause. I don't support $1 to $2 billion in property damage and 14,000 arrests. And 19 lives lost, according to Wikipedia. The planning, he should have understood that it could have or was going to lead to a chaotic nightmare. He wasn't going to get the benefit of the doubt ever. And Democrats and media and platforms have utilized that day to silence people, even more so than they did during the entire last year of his presidency. He didn't commit a crime, but you better believe people around him considered removing him. And I'm going to explain the psychology or the reasoning, the political motivation for people to turn on Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel every day at 8 a.m. in the morning Pacific time and 11 a.m. forever on this channel. Expect a segment, a YouTube video on H.A. Goodman, and I think I'll hopefully soon pick times for H.A. Goodman's other channel to grow that channel, but throughout the next year and forever, I would love to have coffee, breakfast, start the morning with you, drive to work. So if you're driving to work right now, God bless you. Have a great day. And I'm just honored to share the morning with you. Set your dial to 8 a.m. on this channel. Even if you don't get notification, you might not. You might have, you might not have gotten notification. I don't know. But 8 a.m. Pacific every day. Expect a video on H.A. Goodman on YouTube, and 11 a.m. Pacific every single day forever on this channel. Hit subscribe. Tell your friends about this channel, H.A. Goodman, and if you want to become a member, please do so. My Patreon is below as well. Your support is greatly appreciated. You can give a super thanks as well. And also, if you want to be part of a newsletter, go to hagoodman.com. And you can just give your email address and become part of a newsletter. The psychology here is the following, or the political angle or the analysis is the following. You have Pompeo, who owes Trump a great deal. You have Pence, who owed Trump a great deal. You have people around him that he hired that turned on him. He routinely is betrayed by, he's routinely betrayed by people all the time. Trump is. What he should do, in my humble opinion, okay, you could say, well, you were never president. That's true. Let me tell you something. I think that he's a fantastic president in terms of accomplishments. He is. In terms of just accomplishments, with the entire media and government against him and political system against him, record low poverty in 2019. I would love to hear a rebuttal to that. There is no rebuttal to record low poverty in 2019, not 2017. You can't say it's President Obama's economy. No, it's 2019. We had record low poverty. People still said, oh my God, Mueller probe. Mueller time. I mean, he had to, and he was accused of things he never did. We can go on forever. Record low poverty, Abraham Accords, Doha Agreement that he negotiated that Biden completely botched, but he removed and reversed U.S. foreign policy, removed Americans from a never-ending military conflict. It was Trump who did that, not Biden. Trump who did that. Biden completely botched it when they say, well, he left it to Biden. It's like, no, he couldn't fast forward into the future. It's not like a VHS tape or like he's not watching some kind of movie where you can just fast forward, okay, or DVD or whatever. He lost, and so he was not there to oversee the removal of Americans that he negotiated. That's why, see, foreign policy is the most important issue to me. And people can't understand why. Why would you vote for Bernie Sanders and then go to Trump? Because foreign policy, I'm against never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. My God, how hard is that to understand? But they don't, Democrats do not care about that. They don't care. It's not even within their radar. It's unbelievable. But anyway, he has to find a way, and this goes for Trump has to find a way. And this goes for the Arizona Republican Party and the Georgia Republican Party. Trump has to find a way to create an incentive to motivate people not to turn on him. He has to give people a political incentive that outweighs the apoplectic, hysterical media coverage that's 24/7. The repetition is maddening. They repeat the lies about Trump. He's a Kremlin operative. He stormed me and this and that and taxes. And it's repetition. It's like walking by a Pepsi billboard 100 times a day. Eventually you'll want to buy Pepsi. That's the way advertising, that's the way politics works, and propaganda, really. They want you to think that Trump is the embodiment of criminality and evil. And so every single day, the Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, The Atlantic, New Yorker, New York Magazine, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Rolling Stone, all of Hollywood, Twitter, and they're going to tell the world Trump is the embodiment of criminality, he's horrible, the Justice Department, they haven't indicted him. They might actually indict him in 23 just because the criminality is actually rampant with Hunter and Joe, and Hillary might become nominee in 24. I think she will be, actually. You have mashed potato brains, it's not going to be much of a problem politically for both Clintons when he gets impeached, and he will get impeached. I wouldn't doubt if Bill and Hillary help the impeachment in some manner. That's how they roll in the Democratic Party. But anyway, Trump has to give some kind of incentive to people. He has to say, free lifetime membership in Mar-a-Lago, and this should be enough to overshadow hit pieces and 24/7 negative news coverage and people making sure you never work again after working with me. So he has to find some way. He has to find some way to give people incentive. Now, you might say, well, why should he do that? He should just hire better people. Well, but politics is about, most of the people in politics are opportunists, and they crave power and they crave influence. And if they see that they can get better media coverage turning on Trump, they'll do that. Just look at Kinzinger and Cheney. They voted alongside Trump over 90% of the time in Congress, according to 538. But they saw the dollar signs. Now, I don't usually accuse people of that, but that's pretty obvious. They voted alongside Trump 90+% of the time, okay? When I went from Bernie Sanders to Trump, I was accused of doing it for money, but that's bizarre and absurd because there's less money. The racket on the left is very lucrative. I believed in it. It wasn't a racket for me, but the entire public relations machine monstrosity is a racket. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. Huffington Post, my articles in Salon, the Huffington Post, The Hill, were read hundreds of thousands of times each article. I truly believed. I thought Bernie Sanders was special. Now, I obviously know he didn't even address the fact he was cheated, and he votes alongside the Lincoln Project. He's a tool of the Democratic Party. Probably a very good human being, Bernie Sanders. But he's a political animal, political creature. And he's there just to funnel votes back into the Democratic Party from left-leaning Democrats who would vote Green Party. That's part of the racket. But he was against, at least I thought he was, against the Lincoln Project or never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. The greatest issue that we face in this country and the world. And if Democrats tomorrow, most Democrats would say, yeah, sure, send Americans to Europe. The average Democratic voter has a blind allegiance to the Democratic Party. And it's a loyalty that is beyond any rational explanation. And they don't care about foreign policy. Because it's a catastrophe now. We're talking about possible annihilation in a nuclear sense. So, anyway, he has to be able to give an incentive to people. He has to say, look, if you're going to work in the Trump administration, what you're going to get is going to be a lot more important to you than the apoplectic negative media coverage. Because that's what the state Republican parties, that's what never-Trumpers feed off of. Positive media coverage. And very few people can ignore negative media coverage. Especially in politics. Trump can. DeSantis can. You know, if media treated Biden in the manner they treated Trump, his approval would be at like 18-19%. I'm talking about, we had a recession. We had a recession and corporate profits were increasing with inflation and 40-year highs. You tell me that. How does that happen? And then you have a nuclear confrontation in Europe. Tell me how that happens. And we have crime rising throughout cities and the border is out of control. And so, but the media props him up. We know government agencies and Twitter worked together to silence the New York Post. And no, it wasn't business as usual. Whenever Democrats or media, they're caught in the act, they say, well, that's just the way things go. Nope, that's not the way things go. It's never happened before up until recently. Up until when the Democratic Party merged or formed this alliance with government. Trump has to find a way to get better media coverage for himself and for people who work with him. And that will help people stay more loyal. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel. Be here at 11 a.m. I'm really trying to grow a sense of a schedule. Because I watch probably the same YouTubers you do also. I enjoy them as well. And I know that many of them in the morning start off in the morning. And you know every morning you're going to get numerous segments. So 8 a.m. on this channel. Be here every morning. and 11 a.m. as well, Pacific time. 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., just set your dial and be here in those times. And, of course, I'll have uploads and live streams. I'll have a live stream this evening. Thanks, everybody. See you at 11 a.m.